Hello everyone, my name is Julie Inman Grant and I'm Australia's eSafety Commissioner. It is an absolute pleasure to speak with you today about my work and to take you on our online safety journey, past, present, and future. I had the great pleasure of meeting the Ukrainian team in Addis Ababa last year, and it's been wonderful to watch from afar how this inspired and dynamic team is responding to the growing and ever-present challenges of today's online world. I think the future is the most important area for us to focus on because there are some real looming threats. But there are also tremendous opportunities if we can effectively join hands to tackle the worst forces of human nature that rear their ugly heads on the internet. For those of you who are not familiar with eSafety, let me pass over to my international team who will provide you with an overview of what we do and how we do it.
eSafety is the world's first government online safety regulator whose sole purpose is the protection of its citizens online. We achieve this through a focus on three areas: protection, prevention, and proactive change. And it's the first area of protection where we will begin. eSafety has a range of civil powers to compel takedown of illegal or harmful content, whether it's pro-terrorist content, child sexual abuse material, abhorrent violent material, image-based abuse, or serious cyberbullying directed at a child. Our legislated cyberbullying complaint scheme provides a safety net to Australian children affected by serious cyberbullying. We know that 1 in 5 Australian children have experienced cyberbullying, and for these children, the online abuse tends to be peer-to-peer and an extension of bullying happening in the schoolyard. To date, we've received more than 12,400 cyberbullying complaints and referred over 12,000 children to services like Kids Helpline for support. Sadly, about 15% of reports involve direct threats of harm, and we're seeing a rise in the use of imposter and impersonation accounts, including the act of phoenixing, where multiple accounts are created to target a specific child, and as soon as one is taken down from the platform, another will emerge in its place. One thing is for sure, the quicker we get the harmful content directed at a child taken down, the more quickly we can help to relieve them of the emotional anguish this can cause. eSafety also provides a world-first, government-led reporting service for victims of image-based abuse, which is when an intimate image or video is shared or threatened to be shared without consent. Our research shows that image-based abuse affects 1 in 10 Australians, and since October 2017, we've helped over 4,800 victims get their intimate images or videos removed from the internet. About 60% of our image-based abuse reports are from women, and around 30% of reports are from people aged under 18 years. Despite most of the material being hosted overseas, we've been successful in having it removed in about 85% of cases from more than hundreds of overseas platforms. Some of these reports contain between 300 to 400 URLs, showing that predators determined to humiliate will share on multiple platforms using multiple accounts. While there are laws criminalising image-based abuse across Australia, what victims generally want is just for the content to be taken down. From September 2018, our approach to tackling image-based abuse was bolstered by a civil penalties scheme, which allows us to issue warnings, infringement notices, and significant penalties to those who post or threaten to post intimate material, as well as penalties for those who host it. eSafety also has responsibility for harmful content takedown, including child sexual abuse material. And it's in this area of online content regulation where we have the most history, but also where we've seen the most growth and change. The Australian government took its first steps towards online content regulation more than 20 years ago with an amendment to the Broadcasting Services Act, creating the Online Content Scheme. At this time, the model chosen for regulation was based on the regulation of offline films and publications. This was an age where online and user-generated video content was limited, and no one could have predicted how the hosting and sharing of online video content would explode across the internet, along with its associated harms. In the first full year of operation, the scheme handled about 200 complaints on a variety of offensive and illegal online content. Over the past 20 years, Australian industry has complied with 100% of our takedown notices, a figure we're proud of as a government-led hotline. But compare the figure of 200 complaints to today, and you will see how the size of the issue has increased exponentially, with our cyber report team receiving almost 14,500 complaints from the public this year. We have great concern over the vast amounts of overseas online content reported to us, as well as sustained, higher volumes of child sexual abuse material where children are being coerced to produce it themselves. Our investigators are seeing videos of 6 or 7-year-old children performing sex acts for the camera on mobile phones and tablets in their bedrooms and bathrooms. And in a number of cases, we can hear the voices of their parents or siblings unaware in the next room. We refer to this material as coerced, rather than self-produced child sexual abuse content, as we observe a significant proportion of these vulnerable children are often being groomed, manipulated, and intimidated by predatory adults into recording or live streaming performances on demand. And finally, after the shocking terror attacks in Christchurch, New Zealand in 2019, we were granted new powers to prevent the hosting and sharing of abhorrent violent material, which includes live stream terrorist attacks, murder, attempted murder, torture, rape, or kidnapping. This is a notification power with significant penalties pertaining to live-streamed conduct. While our reporting schemes are vital to the protection of Australians online, in these cases, we're only able to act after the damage has been done. To prevent these harms from occurring in the first place, as much as possible, eSafety has a huge focus on prevention through the provision of evidence-based resources and outreach programs to help Australians have more positive and empowering online experiences. We want to make sure we're giving people of all ages and all backgrounds the right tools to protect themselves online. This might include building up digital resilience, helping to develop strategies for de-escalating risky online situations, improving digital literacy, or helping to hone critical reasoning skills. eSafety is proud of the fact that in just 5 years, we've reached millions of Australians with our education resources and training and have provided relief to thousands of victims of online abuse. Our outreach programs, webinars, live seminars, and other resources are also tailored to specific audiences to reach seniors, frontline domestic violence workers, and a variety of at-risk communities. Schools have an important role to play here too. Today, it's more important than ever to teach children the 4 R's of the digital age: respect, resilience, responsibility, and critical reasoning. Teachers also need to have access to high-quality teaching resources and training for themselves on these important topics. But children can't navigate this world alone. Reaching parents is especially important, as our research has found that 81% of Australian parents are giving their preschoolers access to the internet through a connected device, with 42% providing access to their children by the age of 2. Parents need to be just as present in their children's online lives as they are in their everyday lives and help guide them through these early years and prepare them for the interconnected world we all live in. While prevention and protection are important pieces of the online safety puzzle, we can't continue to allow the responsibility for online safety to be placed solely on the users. Tech companies must also share the load. And this brings us to our third area: proactive change. We've all known about online harms for over 2 decades, and the tech companies are also well aware of how their platforms have been weaponized. And it's time for these companies to take responsibility for what's playing out on their platforms. So, how do we change the future? At eSafety, we strongly believe the answer lies in something we call safety by design. Safety by Design is eSafety's world-leading initiative that puts responsibility for user safety back onto technology companies themselves. For example, we trust that the protections built into our cars, guided by international standards, will keep us safer on the road. Just as car manufacturers install seatbelts and airbags into cars, technology companies should be embedding safety protections into their design, development, and deployment processes. Safety by Design encourages companies to take a proactive approach to user safety. It provides industry with actionable and achievable measures to better protect us all online, raising the standard of user safety and creating a culture where safety is systematically embedded into an organization's values, operations, and investments. There are 3 overarching principles that make up the Safety by Design initiative. The first principle centers on leadership, governance, and service provider responsibilities, and focuses on the preventative steps that can be taken so that harms have been evaluated and assessed upfront, ensuring that the burden of safety does not fall solely on end users. The second principle emphasizes that user empowerment and autonomy should be supported and strengthened, that users should be provided with the right tools and support to control how they interact and engage online, and feel empowered to use these tools. And finally, the third principle covers transparency and accountability, hallmarks of a robust approach to user safety. Over the past year, eSafety has been working collaboratively with industry to develop a robust framework of resources and guidance materials to help them on their Safety by Design journey. This includes a set of dynamic and interactive Safety by Design assessment tools that translate the Safety by Design principles into action, one for established tech companies and one for startups and early stage companies, tailored to each organization's structure and risk profile. Learning opportunities, points of clarification, and good practice examples are interspersed throughout the tools, which have been drawn directly from expertise and insights shared by industry leaders. We look forward to launching these tools in the coming months. We believe that Safety by Design is a catalyst for change and provides the pathway to make inclusive and ethical design thinking a standard practice, leading companies down a path that will fundamentally change how they design, develop, and deploy their products, with safety at the core. While identifying the clear and present online dangers is key to keeping safer online, we know that technology never stays still for long. And that's why we're keeping our eyes on the horizon and anticipating how technologies might be used or misused, so we can identify, invest, and respond in a timely manner. So, what are these challenges? Let's start by talking about deepfakes. Over recent decades, huge advances in technology and artificial intelligence have made it far easier to produce fake but extremely realistic images, audio, and video of people saying and doing things that they didn't actually say or do. And they are almost impossible to detect with the naked eye. While these advances have numerous positive applications in fields like entertainment and education, they can also be weaponized to create fake news, false pornographic videos, and malicious hoaxes, usually targeting well-known people such as politicians and celebrities. And they also have the potential to create wider societal harms too, including fraud, propaganda and disinformation, military deception, and the erosion of trust in governments, institutions, and even elections. Our ability to continue the fight against the spread of child sexual abuse material will only get harder as the use of end-to-end encryption becomes more widespread, with large industry players like Facebook moving in that direction. If we allow these platforms to go dark, it will make the job of detecting and removing child sexual abuse material and evidence of grooming online almost impossible, as child sexual abuse images and videos that are sent over fully encrypted platforms will be undetectable. There are a number of solutions to this problem that don't weaken encryption while still allowing access to the information needed in serious criminal investigations. Embedding safety into hardware directly onto the devices people use is one potential solution to end-to-end encryption, but not enough attention is being paid to these issues right now. And as we look further into the future, things like extended realities, quantum computing, and decentralized networks are just some of the other looming threats that will make regulating online harms, including harassment, hate speech, and the spread of child sexual abuse material, even more difficult. But coming back to where we are now, worldwide we're seeing governments, organisations, businesses and individuals actively shaping the digital ecosystem. To support these global efforts, we need to establish online rules and frameworks that are aligned, harmonised and consistently applied. And when we are formulating them, safety needs to be on an equal footing as privacy and security. We also need to make sure that we all agree on the fundamental human rights that transcend all cultures, religions and borders, like the safety and dignity and fundamental human rights of children. Of course, these principles will be approached slightly differently depending on a nation's history, their culture and societal norms. And this diversity is good. But it is imperative that legislation, governance, and national online safety strategies are internationally aligned and that a high standard for online safety content regulation is set, with safety considered as a distinct but equal partner to both security and privacy.
I want to thank you so much for listening and allowing us to take you on eSafety's journey, past, present, and future. Looking to some of the exciting technologies on the horizon, as well as some of the emerging threats. If you want to learn more about eSafety, please visit esafety.gov.au or follow us on social media. But in closing, while there are significant global challenges facing all of us in online safety, both now and into the future, one thing remains vital, that we keep meeting these challenges together and finding collective solutions. Advancing online safety is a journey, not a destination. It also requires international effort. We are committed to sharing information and collaborating with governments and organizations around the globe as they work to protect and safeguard their citizens online. We all have a role to play, governments, academia, NGOs, and of course the tech platforms themselves, in making the internet a kinder, more hospitable place. I look forward to continuing our engagement with the Ukrainian government counterparts as they continue to make the internet a safer place for all Ukrainians and indeed for people around the world. There's more that unites us than divides us in our common goal to civilize the internet. And only by working together can we truly hope to achieve it. Thank you.